So welcome to our program. Thank you for chatting with us. You're visiting from Israel. You're with a delegation of Israeli Druze visiting. Can you share a little bit about yourself and why you have come here, and a little bit about the Druze community in Israel?
Okay, good afternoon, Karmel. Well, my name is Amir Halabi. I'm 35 years old. I am a physician specializing in pediatrics. I work in Haifa, in the Karmel Medical Center. I came as a member of a Druze delegation in order to introduce the Druze minority of Israel to the United States population here in Los Angeles and also in New York.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the Druze are treated? It's not a Jewish religion, it's not a Muslim religion, but they are a minority group living in Israel. How are they treated? What is their life like over there?
Okay, so the relationship between the Druze and the State of Israel goes long before the establishment of Israel. During the times of the waves of Aliyah that came to Israel, the Druze helped the Jews in buying lands, they protected them from the British. So the relations are really a long time before the establishment of Israel. After the establishing of Israel, and even in 48, the Druze took part in fighting in the IDF, side by side with the Jews. And since 1956, it's a mandatory for the Druze males to join the army. So because of that, the relationship between the Druze and the Jews are very tight in Israel. They call it in Israel a blood connection. I prefer to call it a life connection, because beside the blood connection we have also the civilian life in Israel, where we are integrated in the country and in the Jewish society. So the Druze in Israel have full equal rights like other minorities in Israel, and there's a few minorities in Israel. There are Christian Arabs, there is Muslims Arabs, there are Bedouins, there is Baha'is and more. The minorities in Israel are integrating in the daily life, and they vote in the election. They can be elected as members to the Knesset. Okay, they can study exactly like the other Jewish population in Israel. They have, of course, a freedom of movement in the country. So basically, they have normal life like any other Western country. In contraindication to the life of the minorities in the Arab countries near Israel.
So you're a physician, you deal with sick people, injured people in the hospitals. Does the Israeli hospitals or Israeli society give preference to one group or another? Do religious minorities get the same treatment in the hospitals as regular Israelis? What is that situation like?
Well, when it comes to the medical field, it's obvious that in medicine, one of the highest principles is to give a good medical treatment and to treat all of the patients in the same manner with no preparation. I worked for a year in Jerusalem, in Hadassah Ein Karem Hospital, where the population of the staff, the medical staff, is composed from Israeli Jews, Israeli Arabs, even Palestinians from the West Bank have permission to come and work in Hadassah. They can specialize there, and there is cooperation in order to build a better system, better medical system in the West Bank. So the relations are extraordinary between the staff. What comes first is the patients. So politics are not really important thing in the hospital. In the current time, I work in Haifa, In Haifa, the situation is the same. Arabs doctors as part of the staff in my hospital, and there is coexistence behind the hospital in Haifa, because Haifa is a very relaxed place. There is no tension. There is no holy places that create tension in this city. And I can tell you that the best example of coexistence between Arabs, Jews and other minority is in Haifa for years. Okay, they celebrate holidays together, they work at the same companies, in the same places, and it's a good example even in the current times, the hard current times, to see this beautiful coexistence that's happening in Haifa, in the only place in the Middle East.